Now, the drugs don't work, they just make you worse. It's definitely how I'm feeling this morning. Back in 2010, I decided to do a 50-mile event and looked around, found that most of them had 12, 13-hour cutoffs. I mainly was a walker then, as I am now, and so the possibility of making that cutoff was pretty hard. So I had to take up a little bit of running, which I really wasn't really interested in. And I was 250, 260 pounds, 110, 120 kilos. I ended up doing a relay for life here in Bakersfield in 2010. Since it was 24 hours, figured I could go out there and have a supported walk. And I joined my Bakersfield Distance Project people, came out and joined me. One thing I found out with at least the Bakersfield Relay for Life was that the teams didn't stay out there all night. So at 1 or 2 in the morning, there's maybe half a dozen teams, mainly high school kids. All the other teams, in theory, you're supposed to have someone out there the entire 24 hours. Not the case. So got pretty lonely. Ended up walking 50 miles in about 20 hours, kind of the JFK, John F. Kennedy challenge. And then I thought, well, I'm going to try and find a local race that maybe I can do 50 miles and make the cutoffs. The Verb sang that line, the drugs don't work, they just make you worse. And that's kind of how I'm feeling this morning. I just can't do a pace with these congestive heart failure medications I'm on, mainly I believe the beta blocker. So the story continues. I do that 50 miles of Relay for Life. I find Leona Divide here, local race, only like an hour and a half away. Train super hard, 13-hour cutoff. I end up doing like 12:45 in 2011, 10 years ago, back in April. Wasn't planning on doing 100 because back then, to qualify for Western States Lottery, you had to do at least 50 miler in under 11 hours or complete a 100 miler. And I really had no interest in doing 100 unless I could do it, 50 and 11. Didn't want to be out there. But I was in really great shape in 2011. And then one day, yes, kids, I was looking through a magazine, Ultra Runner magazine, and saw that they were having a 100-mile race, urban race in Los Angeles, Southern California, running from a town, Corona, to the Santa Monica Pier, all on the roads. It was like a $100 entry fee. You would raise $100 for the 100-mile club. And so I did that. Ended up doing it in like 28 hours, 20 minutes or so. Had great support from my Bakersfield Distance Project people because you had to have a crew in this race. Kind of like a Badwater race where, they just follow you along. And that was all fun and dandy. So I was still a big guy, like most men, avoided a doctor like the plague. Felt fine. Knew I had a few issues, but I was feeling good. I was doing what I wanted to do. In 2012, I returned to the Endurance Challenge, and I went even faster, went 26:30 or so. And then, so 2013, my people, my Bakersfield Distance Project people, they're awesome. They were super excited about me returning. They had visions of me going sub 24. I had no aspirations for that. I didn't run enough, and it's just way too hard for some reason. So there was a lot of pressure. They were putting a lot of pressure on me about going faster. Tried to get it out of my head, and then when I went down, I actually went down the night before the race, stayed at my friend Allison's, but I got there 3 or 4 in the afternoon. I immediately felt exhausted and felt sick. I didn't bother telling anybody except, of course, Allison. And, so when the race started, definitely something was wrong. Felt weak. And then maybe 50 miles into the race, or 50, 60 miles, my right foot was killing me, which was my power foot. And this was before I was wearing Ultras. I was wearing like road Asics. My foot was killing me. I was out there with one of my athletes, Garrett. And before I get to 100K, I was feeling dizzy and woozy, which is something I never felt in a race. And so that was very disconcerting. And by the time I got to 50 miles, I would definitely want to quit, but I kept going. 100K, I told my people, I just can't keep going. They were like, you can do it. And I was like, look, the math, I can't make the 30-hour cutoff. I'm going to have to do the last 38 miles at basically the pace I'm doing now. and I'm slowing down, and we're going to go through the hills of Paso Robles, and there's just no way I can do it. And so they weren't having it. They kind of sent me out. I went out with my crew chief, and by the time we got to mile 68, I finally convinced them that I was done. I just couldn't continue. My right foot was killing me. I had this gigantic blister on it. You could see the shoe imprint on my foot, and I can't believe I didn't break my foot. One of the deals I had to make with my crew, which was crazy, but they wanted me to continue, is like I had to go see the doctor when I got done with the race. Not for my foot. They were concerned about health issues. You know, I'm a big guy, been a big guy forever. And so, you know, I limped into the doctor's office looking like hell. You know, they did the work and realized, you know, like, oh, you know, you need to be on these medications and all this stuff. So, long story short, I took their meds, felt terrible, kind of like how I am now, especially the blood pressure medicine. And eventually I decided, it's 2013, I just didn't want to do these drugs and feel terrible. I mean, yeah, I gave them a shot. You know, they changed the dosages, but a life of just being a zombie, and it was just not for me. I made a decision to not take all the drugs, cleaned up my diet, did other things to try and manage my blood pressure. Didn't bring the weight down, but I tried to eat healthier and live a little bit healthier lifestyle. And I think I got it a little under control. And so I quit doing that. And shortly after that 2013 race, then they announced the 6-day across years with Kuros and Joe Fegis. I ended up going there, you know, did 322 miles in 6 days. And then I was on a real tear in 48-hour races. And for many years, was really killing it all the way up until last year, where after 40 years of training, I slipped and fell in the Johnsburger Grease. 6 weeks later, ended up in the hospital with a diagnosis of congestive heart failure. And that's where I'm at now. I still can train. I ended up getting out of hospital at the end of April and doing the race across Tennessee and back across Tennessee. So I did 10 miles a day for 4 months, but it was slow, and it's still slow. Like right now, I'm attempting to do kilometer repeats, but my pace is like 17:20 walking. And as you can tell, you know, I'm talking along a little bit winded, but I can't go any faster. My heart rate is like 85. And, you know, I did a little research and found that the beta blockers block the adrenaline. Now in a race, I can sometimes overcome it like I did at the Burro race. But this morning, no matter what I do, it just doesn't work. So, as the verb says, the drugs don't work, they probably make you worse. I have to make a decision. I'm right now, I'm fine with not being competitive, but it's sort of frustrating, and I need to talk to my doctor, who's doctor, in May, and ask him, do I really need to be on these beta blockers? I'll take your blood pressure medicine, and I'm good with that, but maybe I don't have to do this, but who knows? I'm sure they're always cautious, so he'll be like, yes, you need to stay on it. And I guess I will, but it's just a whole new world reality. I used to be able to be out here, walk 16s with ease. You know, now I'm in the 17s with ease, but I don't have another gear. You know, I used to say when I was a runner, I had a 10-speed bike. Became a walker, I had like a 3-speed bike. And now I'm basically down to a 1 or 2-speed bike. And it's kind of frustrating. But as my friend Amanda said, you just have to accept this as your new reality. But I don't know. Now, with my science background, I do realize that it may not be the drugs. It may be, you know, the congestive heart failure. And this is just my new reality of limited capacity. But it doesn't really explain why in a race situation I can go hard. You know, did a 5K the other day at 15 pace, which wasn't too far off of what I could walk in the past, especially at this size where, thank you COVID, I'm up to about 260, 120 kilos. And so I can, you know, push the pace then and get my heart rate up into the 140s, 150s walking, which, you know, isn't the easiest thing to do either. So it's kind of, you know, is it the drugs or is it the heart failure, the after effects of the heart failure? I feel great, and I do like the other medications that have helped improve my sleep until recently, and definitely much better health in a lot of ways. So it's a trade-off. I've never been known as a workout pony, meaning in workouts I'm always pretty slow. If you look at my Strava data and then you look at my race performance, I'm always going a lot faster in races, and I fully believe in the old 80-20 rule. So I only go hard occasionally, like today I'm trying to do these 1,000 repeats. Got one was a little better. In fact, I was talking during it, but so it's kind of trying to figure out what it is, the chicken or the egg. Keep on it. It's a journey, experiment of one. That's why I've been doing this since 1979, just because there's always something you can learn and do, and we'll just try and figure it out.